You've done the hard work as a business owner. You've figured out how to make consistent money. You've saved an emergency fund and you're able to stay out of consumer debt. Maybe you've even maxed out your Roth IRA the last several years. But now you have more money you want to save into retirement, or you've hit the Roth IRA income limits and you're asking yourself, what's next? As a business owner, retirement is all on you. There's no employer contributing to the plan or making all of those decisions like back when you worked in corporate. Now it's your responsibility to choose the account, understand the rules, and decide what actually fits your business. And that is exactly what I want to talk about on today's episode. What are the best retirement-focused accounts available to creators when you're ready to save beyond the Roth IRA? Welcome to the Creator Money Show, where I teach creators how to build profitable businesses and lasting wealth. Let's get into it. So many people know about the Roth IRA. It's an amazing account that lets you invest and save up to $7,500 per year. And the best part of the account is you can always access the contributions, and after 59 and a half, you can take money out of that completely tax-free. So what happens when you want to save beyond the Roth IRA? You have more than $7,500 in a month you want to contribute, or you're making more money and you've hit those Roth IRA income limits, but you still want to contribute to a retirement type account. Well, you have several different options that you can save into. And I don't think there is one right way for any particular person. It all depends on your goals and what you currently have going on financially. So before you decide what retirement account you want to pick, I like to take a quick second to make for sure that a retirement account is the account that you actually want to start saving into. So how do you make that decision? The biggest benefit to a retirement account is that the money that is saved into that account grows tax-free. You are never taxed on that money as it grows within the account. And so over decades, you could imagine how much savings the money in that account is bringing to you in just taxes alone. However, with that benefit comes restrictions. Most retirement accounts have an age limit, typically 59 and a half, which dictates when you can take the money out of the account penalty-free. So that's why I always start there with setting up retirement accounts and making sure that my client knows the money will be locked up until they're 59 and a half. Before choosing an account, I like asking myself 3 questions. Number 1, do you have or plan to have employees? Number 2, how much do you want to save into that retirement account on an annual basis? And number 3, how consistent is your business income? What you set up now will apply to employees that you could potentially even hire in 3 or 4 years from now. So it's important to know in the short term, do you plan on having employees or do you not? Furthermore, you also want to make for sure that your business is profitable, that you're not investing a ton of money back into the business. Early on in your business, right, every dollar that you can invest back into your business is only going to compound and make you more profitable because you're able to build your business up into a more sustainable way. But eventually, you get to this happy medium where you don't really need to be investing more back into the business and you want to start setting that money aside. Most likely putting that money into your personal savings or your personal retirement accounts. And I'd say a good rule of thumb is that if you consistently have $10,000 or more that you want to save into the retirement account. So in excess of everything being met, your business is profitable and you're meeting exactly what you need personally, you have $10,000 or more in a year that you want to save, that can be a good time to consider setting up a retirement account. And yes, if life changes, as life happens, right, you can always decide to close the plan. Some plans are more flexible where you can decide to contribute a much smaller amount than like a previous year. But it makes sense to think about these things before you go into it to make for sure that the plan is going to last for at least a couple years. You don't want to do all this work for absolutely nothing if you didn't really go into it with the right mindset to begin with. So one question I often get asked in regards to what account someone should set up is, will my money do better in one account versus another account? So the account itself does not determine your investment return. All of the accounts that we're going to talk about today are really just containers, and the container dictates how much, when, and to who you must contribute to the account. But once the money is actually in the account, so it's sitting in the container, for the most part, it can be invested the same in all of the different types of accounts, which means your investment growth will be the same no matter the type of account that you choose. Okay, so now that we've decided that you're opening a retirement account, which one do you choose? Please note that all these amounts change year to year, and so for this video, I'm going to use numbers for 2026. Okay, so we have the SEP IRA, the solo 401k, the simple IRA, and the 401k that just more so applies to if you have employees. These are the 4 basic accounts that are the most common for any employer who wants to set up a retirement plan. Now, the first 2, the SEP IRA and the solo 401k, work a little bit better if you don't have employees, whereas the simple IRA and the standard 401k work better when you do have employees. I'm calling out the solo 401k and the 401k separately here. They really are the same type of account. However, they work slightly differently if you use it as just a solo 401k. And when I say solo 401k, I mean the business owner and potentially their spouse would count as a solo 401k. The requirements and the fees that go into that account are much less than if you have a standard 401k that then factors in employees as well. So once you add employees into the mix, you then become what's called an ERISA type retirement plan. And ERISA is basically an organization that makes for sure the employees within the account are not getting taken advantage of. All right, so why would you pick one account over the other? Well, a SEP IRA is going to be very simple and straightforward. A solo 401k is more flexible and more powerful. A simple is a simple option for small teams, right? And then the 401k with employees is just more flexibility and pertains to when you have employees. All right, so let's start with the SEP IRA. SEP stands for Simplified Employee Pension. So you can imagine the point of this is being simplified and easy. So some of the pros of this account, you have a high savings potential, up to $72,000 that you could potentially put into that account per year. It's really easy to set up and administer, one form and you're like off to the races. Some of the cons though are that only the employer contributes. So if you do have employees, you could technically still set up a SEP IRA, but whatever you contribute to yourself, you're going to have to contribute that same amount to the employees in your business. Furthermore, by not allowing the employees to contribute to the account, the employee has no skin in the game. The other thing that I just mentioned, the same contribution to everyone. So if you want to give yourself a really high contribution, you want to contribute up to 25% of your salary, you're going to have to contribute up to 25% of your employees' salaries as well. And then they have immediate vesting, which means that the money in the account is automatically the employees. If you're familiar with 401k plans, they also have a vesting schedule, which means that typically they vest over a period of time. So employees oftentimes can be locked into staying with that employer until their money is completely vested. So it allows that you as the employer to kind of hang on to your employees a little bit longer. But with the SEP IRA, it's immediately vesting. That option is not there. The money is theirs regardless of how long they've been there once the money is in their account. All right, the next type of account is a 401k or a solo 401k. Like I said earlier, this is the same account. It is a 401k. There's just some slight nuances to if it's a solo or if you have employees. So some of the pros are, again, you have a high savings potential. So like the SEP, the 401k also has a high saving potential of up to $72,000 per year. The great thing about this, though, is that you contribute as the employer and the employee. They both contribute to the account, so they both have skin in the game here. And it offers the most flexibility out of all of the retirement accounts that we're going to talk about today. So some of the cons to the 401k are there are more administrative and oversight things that you have to consider. A little bit less with the solo 401k and definitely a lot more with the 401k for employees. But that's one thing to consider. And it can be the most expensive to operate. Again, that mostly applies to when you're adding employees into the mix. And last of all, we have the simple IRA or the savings incentive match plan for employees. That's a tongue twister there. So some of the pros of a simple IRA are both the employer and the employee contribute. So again, the employees have some skin in the game. It's easy and expensive to set up. That's why someone might choose a simple IRA over a 401k. There's less rules and requirements to have to worry about in terms of setting up this type of retirement account. Some of the cons are a low savings potential. You really can only put up to $36,000 per year into this account. And that number is even a little off because it depends on the matching formula, which is a specific formula that you have to choose for this retirement plan to match your contributions in the account. But you really you can't put in a ton of money into the simple, whereas like the SEP IRA and the 401k, you can put up to $72,000. This account only allows you to put in up to $36,000. The other thing is that contributions are required each and every year. So with the SEP and the 401k, if you have some bad years and you don't want to contribute to the retirement plan, you can forego those contributions. But with the simple, you cannot forego those contributions. You have to contribute what you said you would when the contract started. And so because of that, there's really a lack of flexibility, right? If you start in January and you think you're going to have a good year, but by the end of the year you don't, you still have to contribute to that plan, which can be really hard. And you can't stop a plan mid-year. There's just a lot less flexibility to get in and out of a simple IRA. Okay, so let's see all of the numbers together. And I'm bringing in the Roth IRA because I think that's important to consider kind of all of the different options that we have here for retirement. So you have your Roth IRA, which you can put $7,500 into that account. That's just the employee, right? Employers don't contribute to a Roth IRA. So $7,500 per year is your annual savings there. The next line we have is our simple IRA. The employee can contribute up to $17,000 and the employer, based on a 2% non-elective contribution, it was that matching formula that I mentioned a little bit earlier, in this scenario would contribute about $7,000. So the max savings there is about $24,000. If you can choose a 3% non-elective contribution, that's where you get to the $36,000 that I was showing you on the previous slide. The SEP IRA, again, no employee contribution, only the employer contribution, and the max the employer can do is up to $72,000. And then for the 401k here, the max employee contribution is $24,500, which means the employer could put in a max of $47,500 to get you to the $72,000. So I just think it's nice to see over on this right-hand column what your potential savings amounts are on each of these accounts. Now, one thing to keep in mind, just because we say the SEP IRA can get you up to $72,000, that doesn't necessarily mean that if your business profits $72,000 and you want to put all $72,000 directly into the SEP IRA that you can do that. There's matching formulas, there's contribution formulas, and if you're set up as an S Corp, it's based on your wages. So I'm not going to jump into all of those nuances there, but just know that this is the potential max savings amounts for each of these accounts, but there's going to be some nuances that you need to think about and look into before you decide, okay, this is for sure the exact right plan for me. Okay, so where do you open and start saving in these types of accounts? Well, I think it's best to break it up into two groups. Do you have employees or do you not have employees? If you don't have employees, it's pretty easy and straightforward. You typically can go to any of the big brokerages. We're talking Charles Schwab, Vanguard, Fidelity. They will all have options for you to open a solo 401k or a SEP IRA. If you don't have employees, put together some pretty straightforward paperwork and you're off to the races, assuming that you are okay investing your own money once it's sitting in the account. The last thing you want to do is open the account, put in the money in that account and never invest it, right? The benefit that retirement accounts are going to give you is once it's invested, that money can grow with you over time. So you want to be sure that you have some basic understanding of how to invest the money once you get it into that account. Now, let's assume you have employees in your business. If you have employees, it's probably going to be the most advantageous for you to find a third party to help you support that retirement plan. Once you have employees, again, like I mentioned earlier, there are more rules and requirements. There's notices you have to give to employees. There's certain fees that are associated with the plan. And so you just have to take a lot more into consideration once employees are in the mix. And so it just makes sense to find a third party to take that all off of your plate for you. Now, as a final question I get asked from creators all the time is, can I contribute to my workplace retirement plan and a retirement plan for my business? And the answer to that is yes. I'm going to use the example where your employer has a 401k and then you yourself as a business owner decided to set up a solo 401k. The limits that are given to you are per social security number. So you can have two different 401k plans open and contributing to them at the same time, but the employee limit in 2026 for a 401k is $24,500. You can't exceed that limit in the 401k. Now, the benefit to you though is, let's say you went 24,500 in your employer plan and the employer gave you a match. You for sure want to take advantage of that match because that's free money that your employer is giving you. But then you have your own solo 401k over here in your business. Well, you met the max in your own plan over here, but on your solo 401k plan, you can still contribute as the employer. And so you still can contribute up to about $24,000 as the employer into your own solo 401k plan as well. So you have some ways that you can kind of play around with the numbers and add that extra benefit to yourself if your business is doing that well. Okay, so to recap, let's go over each of the retirement plans and why you might choose one over the other. So for a SEP IRA, it's going to be the most simple and straightforward and give you flexibility in those employer contributions. You'll want to look closely at a 401k if you have no employees and you want to maximize your employee contributions. The solo 401k is going to be the way to go. You'll want to look into the simple IRA for just a simple, easy, straightforward option when you do have employees that you want to consider a retirement plan for them. And you'll want to consider the 401k if you have employees and don't mind paying a little bit more fees that are associated with that retirement plan, but you want the flexibility and more options in terms of the retirement plan that you put in place. So really, it's kind of the top two work when you don't have employees and the bottom two work when you do have employees. Be sure to save this video for the next time you're trying to figure out the best retirement plan for your business. And as always, if you're interested in discussing your individual situation, I'm always happy to help. Don't hesitate to reach out. The links are down below in the description. Catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching. If you're a creator trying to figure out the money side of your business, make sure you subscribe and let me know in the comments what topic you want me to cover next. Catch you on the next one.